Jenny here at Prairie Point, and today I'm going to be talking to you about interfacing, specifically fusible interfacing. Some interfacings are used in quilting and bags, but I'm going to be focusing mainly on interfacings in clothing, like in a collar, down the front of a blouse or jacket, cuffs in a blouse, that type of thing. So we're going to talk about the different types of interfacing, and then I'm going to show you the best ways to apply interfacing to your fabric to get a really good bond and to not get a rippled effect or anything like that. So let's get started. We'll be talking about two basic kinds of interfacing today. In the fusible interfacing, we have our woven and knit interfacings, and then we have our pell-on, which are more of like a mesh fabric, and I'll show you that a little bit more in detail in a second. But I want to start with your woven and knit interfacings. These are the ones that you would most commonly use if you were doing a t-shirt quilt, and that's why I wanted to touch on that first. The woven is very popular, but the tricot knit works just as well with your knit t-shirts. And we have those in the shop on the bolt, which these came off the bolt, or we have several different kinds of pre-cut and pre-packaged interfacing specifically for t-shirt quilts that you can use if you prefer. Sometimes these are a little more cut to a better shape for you to get your squares out of. But I'm going to start back here, and the first one I want to talk about is this woven interfacing. It looks just like a very thin woven fabric. It is by Pell-On, and it's called Shape Flex is the name of this particular kind. It is 100% cotton, so you want to make sure that you get it pre-shrunk before you put it on anything. I would just do that in some really hot water and lay it out to dry. You don't want to toss it in the dryer beforehand because the glue on the back is heat activated, and then you would have a mess. But make sure that it's pre-shrunk before you put it on anything. The next one is your knit interfacing. This is a tricot knit, so it's got lots of pliability and flexibility, and that's why it works really well if you're sewing with knit fabrics, to stabilize them but still have the same give and the same drape as your knit fabrics were. This one is a brand called Heat and Bond. This particular one that we have in the shop is a medium weight, and these are 100% polyester. So if you're going to bond this with a cotton fabric, you want to make sure that your cotton fabric is pre-shrunk. Otherwise, when the fabric tries to shrink, if it's bonded to this, you're going to end up again with a crumpled mess. Next, I want to talk to you about these mesh type interfacings. There's no weave or knit to them. They're more just like almost like a paper consistency, a strong paper. These are the most common ones that you'll use, especially if you are sewing garments. And so that's why I'm going to focus on these today. The first one that I do want to show you though, whoops, grabbed the wrong one. This particular one is a sew-in interfacing, and you can tell when you feel it that it doesn't have any glue on the back of it. We'll do another video sometime about how to use your sew-in interfacings, but they are available, and we have them here with all of our other interfacings. When you have a fusible interfacing, if you feel it, one side feels really smooth, the other side is kind of rough. It has all these little dots on it, and those dots are little drops or dots of glue that are going to be melted with heat to fuse them to your fabric. These are usually made of polyester, so you need to pre-shrink any cottons that you're going to fuse to it, but you don't have to do anything to your interfacing before you use it. They also come in different weights. This one is a medium weight interfacing. This is our sheer weight, and I don't know if you can see the difference between how thick each of them are, but the sheer weight is probably what I use the most when sewing garments, unless I need a really stiff cuff or collar or something like that. So I'm going to show you how to apply this sheer weight interfacing to your fabric. So I've cut out this collar and a piece of interfacing to go with it, and I'm going to show you how to fuse that on. When you're cutting out your clothing, you use the pattern piece to cut the fabric, and then you use that exact same pattern piece to cut your interfacing, and I did it the same way with the interfacing folded put my pattern piece on and cut it out. So now I have two identically shaped pieces here. Now this particular fabric does not have a right or wrong side, but you always want to fuse your interfacing to the wrong side of the fabric. So today this is going to be the wrong side of our fabric. And I always lay my fabric down on my ironing board first. If you want, you could put down some kind of protective piece of fabric or parchment paper, something underneath to protect your ironing board, but lay that down with the wrong side up. Then you're going to take your interfacing and feel to make sure that you have the side with the glue. This side is smooth. I can feel my glue on this side. So I want the glue to go down against the wrong side of my fabric. And I'm going to lay them down like this so that they're matched up. And once I have them matched up, I'm going to take a pressing cloth. Your pressing cloth is just a piece of white or light colored cotton fabric. If you have old pillowcases, they make perfect pressing cloths if you just cut them up. And you don't want them too big, but enough to lay over your work. If your project extends out here, we'll just move it down as we go. So you're going to lay that over top of everything. This is going to keep you from melting your interfacing because it will melt to your iron if you don't use a pressing cloth. And it's going to protect your fabric. So you can use a super hot iron on your fabric and not have to worry about what type of fabric you have. When I'm fusing the interfacing on, I like to use a super hot iron and as much steam as possible. And I'm going to place my iron on there. I'm going to give it a little bit of pressure and quite a bit of steam. And then I'm going to hold it in one place for a count of about 10. And then lift it off. I'm going to move to the next spot. You don't want to move your iron around very much because you could scoot the interfacing and not the fabric, and then they would end up not end up lined up. So continue to give it some steam and count to about 10, then move on to the next spot. So when you're done and you've gone along each section of your garment piece, go ahead and lift up your pressing cloth and lift up your thing. And you can see that this stuck just a little bit to the ironing surface. And that's why you might want to put down a cloth beneath this or some parchment paper just to protect your ironing board. But you can see now that the two pieces are fused together like one piece of fabric. And then you just follow your pattern instructions to sew your garment together. So thank you for watching this video. In another video, we will talk about our sew-in interfacing and maybe even do some with some of our bag stabilizers, which are put in very similarly.